Captain Vex Thornblade stood before the Void Key with the kind of dramatic posture usually reserved for statue unveilings and funeral eulogies. His 6 arms were crossed in what he probably thought was an intimidating display of intellectual superiority, and his crystalline faceplates kept shifting colors to indicate deep contemplation. It mostly just looked like his head was having a rave. "This," Vex announced to the assembled crew of the research vessel Enlightenment's Promise, "is the culmination of 17 cycles of archaeological pursuit, the Void Key, the legendary artifact that opens the precursor vault containing technology that could reshape the very fabric of our universe." Jake Murphy, holding a mop in the back corner of the laboratory, wondered if anyone was going to mention that the artifact looked suspiciously like a fancy doorknob. "We have attempted 847 distinct frequency combinations," Dr. Mora Deepthink said. All 4 of her eyes focused on various data screens simultaneously. Her species prided themselves on multitasking. Jake had seen her walk into 3 doors in one day. Every known harmonic sequence, every quantum algorithm, every subspatial resonance pattern in the galactic archives has been applied. The mathematical probability of our failure is 0.0003%. And yet it will not open, tech specialist Crix chittered nervously, his antennae twitching with barely suppressed anxiety. "Perhaps we should file a formal request for additional time with the Council, following proper protocols, of course. I have the forms ready, all 73 pages. Vex's faceplates turned an aggressive shade of crimson. "Absolutely not. Do you have any idea what this discovery means for my career? I am not going to be remembered as the archaeologist who found the Void Key but could not open it. My rival, Professor Kelvin Darkstar, would never let me live it down. He would probably write a paper about it, with footnotes. Mocking footnotes." Jake squeezed water from his mop and considered mentioning that maybe the key was less about career advancement and more about, universe-altering technology, but decided against it. He had learned in his 3 months aboard the Enlightenment's Promise that the Galactic Council's most prestigious minds did not appreciate observations from the cleaning staff, especially when the cleaning staff was only there because of a filing error that confused Jake Murphy, janitor, with Jake Murphy, xenoarchaeology consultant. Different guy. That Jake Murphy had 17 advanced degrees and could speak 43 languages. This Jake Murphy had a high school diploma and could speak English and extremely mediocre Spanish. By the time anyone noticed the error, the ship was 3 star systems away from Earth, and the Council refused to authorize the fuel expenditure for a return trip. So Jake got to spend 6 months cleaning up after aliens who apparently never learned that waste receptacles existed. "We will try the Theta 9 configuration," Vex declared. "Mora, prepare the harmonic modulator." "The Theta 9 configuration has a catastrophic failure rate of 12%, Mora said, not looking up from her screens. "I am willing to accept those odds. Those odds include the possibility of turning this entire sector of space inside out. My career is at stake, Mora." Jake decided the far corner of the lab needed extra mopping. The next 72 hours played out like a blooper reel from the galaxy's most expensive science experiment. Jake had a front row seat to what he privately called the parade of prestigious incompetence. First, Vex spent 6 hours reciting ancient chants in 17 dead languages while gesturing dramatically at the Void Key. The key remained impressively unmoved. Jake was somewhat moved, mainly toward the exit, because Vex's chanting voice sounded like a garbage disposal trying to sing opera. Perhaps the ancient precursors simply did not speak those particular dead languages, Jake offered during a water break. Vex's faceplates cycled through several unflattering colors. "These are the foundational linguistic patterns of all known civilizations. If you had even a basic education in xenolinguistics, you would understand." "Sure," Jake said. "But maybe they spoke, I don't know, a different dead language. There's probably a lot of them. Languages die all the time. That's kind of their thing." "Your primitive logic is noted and dismissed." Next came Mora's quantum resonance harmonizer, a device that looked like someone had attached 17 keyboards to a disco ball and hoped for the best. She spent 14 hours calibrating it to emit what she described as the fundamental frequencies of cosmic creation itself. When activated, It made a sound that Jake's grandfather would have described as a duck getting murdered by a saxophone. The void key did nothing. The crew's eardrums, however, filed for medical compensation. Fascinating, Mora muttered, making notes on her data pad. The key appears completely insensitive to quantum harmonic resonance across all tested spectrums. This suggests the locking mechanism operates on principles we have not yet discovered. I should write a paper, perhaps 17 papers. Or, Jake said, still trying to clean up the strange residue the harmonizer had leaked everywhere, maybe you're just making really terrible noises at it. Mora's 4 eyes swiveled to fix him with a look that could have flash-frozen hydrogen. The quantum resonance harmonizer represents 40 years of theoretical research condensed into practical application. It is not making terrible noises. It is generating scientifically calibrated frequency patterns. Right. Scientifically calibrated terrible noises. Things went from bad to worse when Crix decided to try experimental photon manipulation. This involved firing precisely calculated light beams at the key while adjusting the wavelength in real time, according to an algorithm that required 3 quantum computers to process. What it mostly required was Jake to evacuate the lab before Crix accidentally created a hole in the hull that would expose them all to hard vacuum. I followed the protocol exactly. Crix chittered frantically as containment shields slammed into place. Exactly. I even double-checked the safety margins. This should not have happened. The protocol was designed for standard precursor artifacts, Vex snapped, not for the most important archaeological discovery in galactic history. Obviously, adjustments needed to be made. You told me to follow the protocol exactly. I told you to follow the protocol intelligently. Those are contradictory instructions. Jake, standing safely behind a blast door, wondered if this is what professional archaeology was supposed to look like. He had seen documentaries. There were usually more fedoras and fewer near-death experiences. The situation reached critical mass when a transmission arrived from the Galactic Council. Jake happened to be cleaning the communication console when it came through, which meant he heard Counselor Rexus Grandthink's message before anyone could stop him. Captain Thornblade, this is your final deadline notice. You have 48 hours to produce results from the Void Key, or your expedition funding will be revoked, your research credentials will be suspended pending review, and your findings will be transferred to Professor Kelvin Darkstar's team for proper analysis. The Council expects competence from its flagship archaeological program. Please endeavor to provide it. Vex's faceplates went completely black. That was apparently bad. So, Jake said carefully, Professor Darkstar gets your stuff if you fail? Not one word, Murphy. But Jake was not thinking about Vex's career crisis. He was thinking about the Void Key, which he had been staring at for 3 days while everyone else ran around making complicated machines and important-sounding declarations. And he had noticed something that the prestigious minds apparently had not. The key was not smooth. It had tiny grooves running along its surface in delicate spiral patterns. Everyone else thought they were decorative, ancient aesthetic choices, precursor art. Jake thought they looked functional, like the grooves on a record, or the sound holes on a guitar, like something designed to work with vibration and air and the actual movement of sound waves instead of electronic frequencies. But what did he know? He was just the janitor. Captain, Jake started, I was thinking. Please do not hurt yourself, Vex snapped. Those grooves on the key. Has anyone considered they might be decorative patterns common to late-period precursor design aesthetic? Yes, Murphy, we are aware. We have cataloged them extensively. Is there anything else you would like to observe with your janitorial expertise? Perhaps you have theories about the molecular composition? Insights into quantum mechanics? Jake went back to mopping. Fine. Let the Genius Brigade figure it out themselves. He had 48 hours to watch them fail spectacularly, and his mop bucket had a better understanding of the Void Key than any of them. Mandatory rest periods were apparently a regulation even prestigious archaeological crews had to follow. Something about species-specific circadian rhythms and optimal cognitive function. Jake suspected it was really about preventing Vex from having a complete nervous breakdown in the middle of the lab. Either way, at hour 36 of the 48-hour deadline, The entire crew shuffled off to their quarters for 6 hours of required rest, all except Jake, because apparently janitors did not qualify for optimal cognitive function protection, which was fine. The lab was actually peaceful when it was not filled with 6 armed drama queens and scientists having existential crises about their 17 PhDs. Jake finished cleaning the scorch marks from Cricks's latest attempt at something called inverse photonic restructuring, which had mostly just restructured several expensive instruments into molten slag. He reorganized the supply cabinet that Mora kept ransacking for parts to build increasingly ridiculous devices. He even managed to get the mysterious blue stains off the ceiling that nobody would explain to him. And then he ran out of things to clean. The Void Key sat on its analysis platform looking smug. If an ancient artifact could look smug, this one managed. You know, Jake said to it, because talking to inanimate objects was perfectly normal behavior after 3 months in space with no other humans. You are causing these people a lot of stress. Would it kill you to just open? The key did not respond. Rude. Jake walked over to examine it more closely. Up close, those spiral grooves were even more intricate than he thought. They caught the light in strange ways, creating patterns that seemed to shift depending on the angle. Beautiful, really. The precursors knew their aesthetic. But also functional. Jake was sure of it. The grooves were too precise, too mathematical in their spacing. They meant something. He reached out, stopped himself. Vex would probably have an aneurysm if he knew the janitor was touching the most important archaeological discovery in galactic history with his primitive human hands. Jake touched it anyway. The key was warm. Warmer than it should be, warmer than the lab's ambient temperature, and it was vibrating, so slightly he almost missed it, like it was waiting for something, listening for something. What do you want? Jake asked. 847 frequency combinations were not enough for you? You need the 848th? You picky son of a... He stopped, stared at the grooves, at the spirals, at the way they seemed designed to channel something, to amplify something. Sound waves. Not electronic frequencies processed through quantum computers and harmonic modulators and whatever the hell Mora's disco ball machine was supposed to be. Actual sound waves. The kind that traveled through air, created by biological processes. The kind that every species in the galaxy could make but apparently forgot about the moment they invented technology. You have got to be kidding me, Jake said. He stepped back from the key, looked around the empty lab. 48 hours until failure. 6 hours until the crew woke up. He could wait, let them figure it out themselves. Let Vex suffer the humiliation of losing to Professor Darkstar. Or... Jake started whistling. Nothing fancy, just the melody to take me out to the ball game. Because it was stuck in his head, and it was either that or Baby Shark. And he had some dignity left. The Void Key lit up like a Christmas tree. Jake stopped whistling immediately. The key dimmed. Holy! He whistled again. Different song this time. Singing in the rain. The key glowed, but differently. Wrong color. Wrong intensity. Jake cycled through his mental catalog of songs. Beatles, wrong. Queen, wrong. That weird Icelandic band his roommate used to play. Very wrong. The key was responding to specific notes, specific frequencies. Not electronic, not quantum, not cosmic. Just biological sound waves shaped into precise patterns. It was a musical lock. The most advanced civilization in galactic history had built a musical lock. Jake laughed. He could not help it. The prestigious minds of the Galactic Council, with their 17 PhDs and quantum computers and 40 years of theoretical research, had been defeated by a lock that probably would have opened for a singing telegram. He spent the next hour mapping it out. Trial and error, note by note. The key wanted a sequence, a melody, basically. It glowed brighter when he got close, dimmed when he went off key. Like the universe's most high-stakes game of hot and cold. He was maybe 6 notes away from the complete sequence when the lab doors hissed open. Murphy, what are you... Vex's voice broke his concentration. Jake fumbled the note, hit the wrong frequency. The key's glow stuttered and died. No, 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 Jake muttered, trying to get back to where he was. But the moment was gone. The sequence was gone. He would have to start over. And now he had an audience. "What were you doing to the key?" Vex demanded, all 6 arms waving in accusation. It was... Jake gestured helplessly at the now dormant artifact. "I almost had it. I was 6 notes away." Mora's 4 eyes narrowed. 6 notes away from what? From opening it. The silence that followed could have been weaponized. "The janitor," Vex said slowly, "thinks he was 6 notes away from solving the void key." I was not thinking. I was doing. I was whistling and it was responding, and I mapped out most of the sequence, and then you interrupted. "He has experienced a psychotic break," Crix chittered. "The isolation has compromised his neural function. I will prepare the medical containment protocols." "I am not having a psychotic break. The key is a musical lock. It responds to biological sound frequencies. Whistling. Singing. Whatever. The grooves channel the sound waves, and when you hit the right sequence of notes, it opens. I had it. I was 6 notes away." The prestigious minds of the Galactic Council stared at him. Then they started laughing. "A musical lock," Vex repeated, wiping crystalline tears from his faceplates. "The janitor thinks the most sophisticated piece of precursor technology in known existence is opened by whistling. This is beautiful. This is the best thing that has happened to me in 3 days. I'm going to remember this forever." "The statistical improbability alone," Mora said, pulling up calculations on her datapad, "is staggering. Precursor technology operates on quantum principles that require processing power equivalent to 17 linked supercomputers. The notion that they would use something as primitive as biological sound wave manipulation is mathematically absurd. Also," Crix added nervously, "unauthorized interaction with the artifact violates protocols 7 through 14. I should really file an incident report." Jake felt his frustration building. "I know what I saw. The key lit up when I whistled. It responded to specific notes. It was showing me when I got the sequence right." "Correlation is not causation," Mora said. "The key has exhibited random luminescent fluctuations throughout our testing period. You simply whistled at a moment when... For an hour? I whistled for an hour and it responded consistently to specific frequencies? Confirmation bias. Your primitive human brain recognized patterns where none existed. My primitive human brain that somehow noticed something all of your advanced brains missed?" Vex's faceplates shifted to a patronizing shade of green. "Murphy, I appreciate that you want to contribute. Truly. It must be difficult to be the only human on a vessel full of accomplished scientists. But archaeology is a precise discipline requiring years of training and expertise. The void key is not some puzzle box that opens because someone whistled a jaunty tune at it. Then why has nothing else worked?" "Because," Vex said with exaggerated patience, "we have not yet discovered the correct quantum algorithm. The precursors were the most advanced civilization in galactic history. Their technology transcends basic mechanical principles. They would not design something so crude as a musical lock." "Why not?" "Because they were advanced. And advanced civilizations cannot use simple solutions. Not when complex ones exist." Jake stared at him. "That is the dumbest logic I have ever heard." Vex's faceplates went crimson. "You are dismissed, Murphy. Go clean something. Try not to whistle at any more priceless artifacts." "We have 12 hours until the council deadline," Jake said. "You have tried 847 different approaches. You have tried quantum algorithms and harmonic modulators and dead languages and photonic restructuring, and all of it has failed. Every single attempt. What exactly do you have to lose by letting me try?" "My dignity," Vex snapped. "You are worried about dignity? Professor Darkstar is going to get your life's work in 12 hours. But sure, dignity is the priority here." Mora looked up from her calculations. "He has a point, Vex." "He absolutely does not have a point. We have exhausted all viable theoretical approaches. The probability of success with any remaining known methodology is less than 1%. Allowing him to attempt his whistling theory costs us nothing except time, which we are running out of anyway. It costs me my professional reputation. Can you imagine what the council will say when they learn I let a human janitor whistle at the void key? They will say worse things when Darkstar opens it using proper scientific methodology and publishes 17 papers about your failure. Vex's faceplates cycled through several conflicting colors. Jake recognized the look. He had seen it on his college roommate right before he admitted that yes, maybe they should have asked for directions instead of driving around lost for 3 hours. Fine, Vex said. Fine. Murphy, you have 1 hour. 1 hour to prove your absurd theory. When you fail, as you inevitably will, I expect you to clean the waste recyclers for the remainder of the voyage without complaint, and I expect you to never speak of this to anyone. And when I succeed, you will not succeed. But if I do... Vex's faceplates went completely white. Then I will personally recommend you for a position with the Council's Archaeological Division and never speak of this to anyone, because I will be too busy drinking myself into a state of blissful amnesia. Deal. Jake turned back to the void key. 1 hour, no pressure, just the fate of the galaxy's most prestigious archaeological expedition, resting on his ability to remember a melody he had figured out through pure trial and error, and then immediately lost when Vex interrupted. He took a breath, started whistling. Wrong note. The key stayed dark. Different note. Wrong again. This was going to be a long hour. Behind him, Vex settled into a chair with the weary air of someone watching a disaster in slow motion. Mora pulled up her datapad to record what she was undoubtedly already mentally drafting as the failure of auditory frequency hypothesis. Crix nervously filled out incident report forms. Jake ignored them all. The key wanted a sequence. He had found most of it once. He could find it again, note by note, frequency by frequency. The key began to glow. 20 minutes in, Vex sat up straighter. 30 minutes in, Mora stopped typing. 40 minutes in, Crix dropped his datapad. Jake hit the final note. The void key exploded with light. Not metaphorically. It actually exploded, expanding into a holographic display that filled half the lab with star charts, and coordinates and mathematical formulae that made Mora gasp like someone had shown her the secrets of the universe, which technically someone had. It worked, Crix whispered. The janitor whistled, and it worked. Jake turned to face Vex. The captain's faceplates had gone completely transparent. Jake did not know that was physiologically possible. So, Jake said, about those waste recyclers. Vex opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No sound came out. I will take that as a no, Jake said. The void key's holographic display showed coordinates to a location in the Kelraxis sector, an area of space that every galactic map labeled with variations of nothing interesting here, and probably haunted. The Council had surveyed it twice. Both times they found exactly nothing except some unusual radiation signatures and a suspicious lack of planets. Turned out the precursors were good at hiding things. The ancient space station materialized as the Enlightenment's promise dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and Jake had to admit it was impressive. The station was built into an asteroid, or maybe the asteroid was built around the station. It was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. Precursor architecture had a habit of making your eyes hurt if you looked at it too long. Life support reading is functional, Mora reported, all 4 eyes scanning different readouts simultaneously. Artificial gravity present. Atmosphere is breathable for most species, including humans, Murphy, before you ask. I was not going to ask. You were thinking it very loudly. The docking procedure went smoothly, which made Vex even more nervous. In his experience, ancient precursor facilities that had been abandoned for thousands of years should not have fully operational docking clamps and helpful navigation beacons. This is a trap, he muttered as they made their way through the station's corridors. Obviously a trap. The precursors were testing us and we failed by opening the key, and now we are going to be vaporized or turned inside out or transformed into energy beings or something equally unpleasant. Or, Jake said, maybe they just built a space station. Nothing is ever just anything with the precursors. The corridor led to a massive door covered in the same spiral grooves as the void key. Everyone turned to look at Jake. "What?" he said. "Oh, right. The whistling thing." He whistled the same sequence. The door opened without complaint. Beyond was not a weapon, not a doomsday device, not universe-altering technology that could reshape the fabric of reality. It was a museum. Rows and rows of holographic displays filled a chamber the size of a sports stadium. Jake could see art, music, literature, philosophy, the cultural archives of a civilization that had apparently decided its greatest achievement was not its technology, but its ability to create beautiful and meaningful things. "This is the legendary precursor vault," Vex said flatly. "A museum." "Not just any museum," Mora said, activating the nearest display. A hologram of a precursor appeared, looking vaguely humanoid but with features that suggested they had not settled on a final evolutionary form, and just kind of went with whatever seemed fun at the time. "Greetings," the hologram said in perfect galactic standard. "If you are viewing this message, congratulations. You have passed the first test." "Test?" Crix chittered nervously. "What test?" There was no test. There was just whistling. "The test," the hologram continued as if it could hear him, which it probably could because precursors were show-offs like that, was to determine whether your civilization had achieved true balance. We have watched many species rise to technological sophistication. Most follow the same path. They discover quantum mechanics. They build supercomputers. They develop artificial intelligence. And then they forget. "Forget what?" Mora asked. "That they are biological beings. That their greatest strength is not their ability to build machines but their ability to create meaning through organic processes. Music, art, emotion, intuition, the things that cannot be calculated or programmed or optimized." The hologram gestured at the void key on Jake's datapad recording, which had been streaming the entire mission for Council records. "Your lock responded to biological sound frequencies, simple vibrations created by organic vocal cords and shaped by biological intention. 800 species have found the key. 800 species tried to open it with quantum algorithms and harmonic modulators and photonic restructuring. 800 species failed. And humans succeeded," Jake said slowly, "because we are too dumb to overthink it." "No," the hologram said with what might have been a smile. "Because you remembered. Your species is young, technologically speaking. You have computers and spaceships and quantum mechanics, yes. But you still whistle while you work. You still sing songs that have no computational purpose. You still create art that serves no evolutionary function. You remember that being alive is about more than processing information efficiently." Vex had gone very quiet. His faceplates were cycling through colors Jake had never seen before. "The vault," the hologram continued, "contains everything we learned about creating meaning in a universe that tends toward entropy. Philosophy, art, music, literature. The cultural achievements of a civilization that spent 10,000 years perfecting not our technology, but our ability to find joy and beauty and purpose in existence. This is our gift to species wise enough to value both their machines and their organic nature." The hologram paused. "Also, we thought it would be hilarious to make the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy fail because they forgot how to whistle. The first precursor to suggest that idea won our equivalent of the Nobel Prize. We were very proud of them." "They did this as a joke?" Mora said. "Partially, but mostly as a lesson. The most advanced technology is useless if you forget why you are building it. If you forget that you are biological beings having a brief, improbable experience of consciousness in an infinite universe. If you forget to whistle while you work." The hologram bowed. "Congratulations. The vault is yours. Learn what we learned. Remember what you are, and maybe install some musical locks on your own important artifacts. It will annoy future archaeologists tremendously." The hologram faded. The crew stood in silence. "So," Jake said eventually, "no universe-altering technology then?" "No," Vex said quietly. Just the accumulated wisdom of the most advanced civilization in galactic history telling us we are idiots who forgot how to whistle. They did not say idiots. They implied it very heavily. Mora was crying, all 4 eyes streaming tears. I have 17 PhDs. 17. And I was outsmarted by whistling. I need to reevaluate my entire life. Crix was just standing very still, antennae drooping. I am transferring to data entry, something safe, something that does not challenge my fundamental understanding of reality. Jake walked through the museum examining displays of precursor art and music and philosophy. It was beautiful. All of it. The kind of beautiful that made you remember why being alive was worth the trouble. Hey Vex, he called. The precursors were pretty cool. Vex's faceplates had settled on a resigned shade of gray. Yes, Murphy. Yes, they were. The return to the Galactic Council headquarters took 3 days. 3 days for Vex to practice his report. 3 days for Mora to begin drafting 17 papers on biological intuition versus algorithmic processing. 3 days for Crix to fill out transfer paperwork. And 3 days for Jake to realize he had become a galactic celebrity. The council chamber was packed. Representatives from 800 species filled the observation galleries, all of them wanting to see the human who had solved the void key by whistling. Jake spotted news crews from 7 different networks. Someone had already made a holographic documentary called The Janitor Who Saved Archaeology. He hated all of it. Counselor Rexus Grandthink stood at the central podium, face tentacles quivering with what might have been excitement or possibly indigestion. Captain Thornblade, please present your findings. Vex stepped forward. His faceplates were a neutral blue, the color of someone who had accepted his fate and made peace with the universe's sense of humor. Esteemed Council, I am pleased to report that the void key has been opened and the precursor vault has been accessed. The credit for this achievement goes to Jake Murphy, human janitor, who succeeded where our most advanced scientific methodologies failed. The chamber erupted in clicking, chittering, and various other species-specific expressions of surprise. The key was a test, Vex continued, and Jake had to give him credit, his voice barely cracked. A test to determine whether our civilization valued biological creativity alongside technological advancement. We failed. The human passed. The precursors found this outcome extremely funny and left a message saying so. More clicking and chittering. The vault contains cultural archives rather than technological weapons. Philosophy, art, music. The precursors' gift to species wise enough to remember they are organic beings first and technological civilizations second. I recommend we establish a permanent research facility to study their findings, and perhaps install some musical locks on our own important artifacts because apparently that is a valid security measure. Vex sat down heavily. Jake thought he heard the captain mutter something about early retirement and a nice quiet planet with no ancient artifacts. Counselor Grandthink's tentacles swayed toward Jake. Jake Murphy, the Council would like to extend its gratitude for your unprecedented contribution to galactic archaeology. We would like to offer you several positions: Chief Consultant for Intuitive Problem Solving, Director of Alternative Methodology Research, or Special Advisor to the Archaeological Division with full research privileges and access to our most sensitive discoveries. Jake stood up. 800 species watched him. Thanks, he said. But I am good. Silence. You are declining? Yeah, I am declining. I want to go home. Home, Counselor Grandthink repeated. To Earth, to resume your career as a janitor. That is the plan. You could have unlimited research funding, access to ancient artifacts, a place in galactic history. I could also have my apartment back and my cat and my friends and pizza that does not taste like recycled protein paste. So that is what I am going to take. And my cat. The counselor's tentacles drooped in confusion. The human declines galactic prestige for pizza. Do not forget the cat. This is unprecedented. Yeah, well, I am full of unprecedented choices, apparently. The council granted his request, mostly because they had no idea how to process a human turning down everything they offered. The news networks called it The most human thing ever. Someone wrote a song about it. Jake made sure he was on a ship heading to Earth before they could sing it to him. The last Jake saw of Vex, the captain was being swarmed by reporters asking about Professor Darkstar's response to the discovery. Vex's faceplates were the color of someone who had achieved his life's dream, and now had to admit it happened because his janitor whistled at an ancient artifact. Mora was already deep into paper number 4 of 17. She had thanked Jake 17 times, once for each PhD she was reevaluating. Crix had successfully transferred to data entry and seemed much happier. 3 weeks later, Jake was back on Earth, sitting in his favorite bar with his friends who absolutely did not believe a single word of his story. "So you are telling me," Mike said, holding his beer like it was evidence in a trial, "that you went to space-cleaned alien toilets for 3 months, found an ancient artifact, whistled at it, and became a galactic hero?" "That is what I am telling you, yes." "And you turned down fame and fortune to come back here?" "Correct." "You are such a liar." Jake shrugged. "Believe what you want." He pulled out the small crystal cube he had pocketed from the vault. A precursor artifact, probably. Some kind of data storage device or art piece, or maybe both. It glowed faintly when he whistled at it. The precursors had been right. The galaxy was full of geniuses who forgot how to whistle. Jake had always been better at remembering the simple things, and if that made him special, well, he could live with that. He just planned to live with it on Earth, where the pizza was real and nobody asked him to solve ancient mysteries with his vocal cords. No. No. His phone buzzed. Message from Counselor Granthink. "Should you reconsider, the position remains open. Also, Professor Darkstar is requesting your consultation on a newly discovered artifact. He is offering triple the salary we offered. Please respond." Jake deleted the message. Some things were not worth any amount of money, even if they did involve annoying Professor Darkstar. Although, actually, he was staying on Earth, with his cat and his pizza. Probably. Most likely. He whistled a tune and the crystal cube glowed brighter. His friends stared at it. "Okay," Mike said slowly. "So maybe you are not lying." "Maybe," Jake agreed. And he ordered another beer, content with the knowledge that somewhere in the galaxy, 800 civilizations were installing musical locks on their important artifacts and cursing the name of Jake Murphy, the human who ruined security systems forever. He thought the precursors would have appreciated that.